I think it's probably because most of the mainstream media and the reporters don't really look that far into the topic of VR and social VR. So I don't think that they'll have like, looked further into the actual topic. So, for example, for some people, finding out about VRChat, it's not easy because you kind of have to look for the actual game or for specific videos. It's still quite a niche, and I don't think that reporters go that far down deep into, for example, into these type of niches. But they should. They should. They're missing out on an opportunity, and it's just such a pity that they just don't do it. Because after all, VRChat is one of the most largest social platforms besides Rec Room and a few others. But it's a pity. And yeah, I don't think that VRChat is getting that much coverage because people and reporters don't really look that much into social VR, I think, or maybe even are too lazy. There are honestly many opinions about this, but I think that's like the main one.
I mean, it's I would say, because a lot of media likes to mostly fantasize and like put publicity to like bigger people, and especially since like it's a business run by the most well-known person, they probably want their product out better. I mean, it's mostly about business and cash flow. You probably wouldn't want to support your like a VRChat, I would say. I feel like that's how you could look at it.
Even though VRChat is the
way.
most successful metaverse that exists to date.
Yeah, I would say that. I mean, Mark probably just. I mean, it's really about competition. I mean, if you got to pick between Walmart and Target, Target's going to be more expensive, but Walmart, I mean, fuck, they're going to have a shit ton of crap. But I mean, I don't know. I'm talking about like money wise. That's probably why the media is, especially since most social media platforms and Zuck, popular figure, it's probably going to be more well known. I mean, compared to VRChat, I don't really know many popular figures in all honesty.
For two reasons. The mainstream media mostly works with the older generation, so Gen Xers, boomers, even some older millennials. Due to the fact that they cater to them, they do not talk about VR or any video game systems at all unless it's negative. Kind of like how back in the early 90s it was all video games cause violence and all that, but now they've kind of shifted their sense over to things that just they don't even worry about. The only time they really do worry about VR or video games in general is when it's affecting their kids in a negative way. But most of the time when they do that, it's all made up garbage. Things that they don't really understand or think is a challenge or isn't a challenge. And, stuff like that.
That is, it's a pretty convoluted question because, there is some cases where mainstream-ish media will, discuss VRChat and sometimes in a really positive light, like the one that, PBS did, which was really good. But then there's, like, the hit piece that I think, BBC did? Or I think it was BBC. When they portray it, it's either really good or ends up being like a hit piece, but then most publications don't even mention it at all. But I think right now, it's an interesting time that you ask me that because right now everybody, like the metaverse bubble has popped, the NFT bubble has popped, and all of that finally took long enough. So I think now there's going to be more portraying of it in the media, like very, very soon. I've already been seeing a little bit more of that on Twitter, for example. Not that that's a great way to gauge any sort of interest on anything. But as to why they haven't, that's tough. I mean, I'm not a news publication, so I don't know. I guess it's just easy to... My theory is that maybe it's just easy to pretend that something that you don't know well enough just doesn't exist. Because it's not VRChat isn't that well known to the general public. Like, it had a very strong place in meme culture, circa 2017. But other than that, it hasn't really. It's kind of a bubble in of itself that eventually will pop and probably numbers will skyrocket. Not to say numbers haven't been skyrocketing. Every single New Year's, there's more and more people online every single time. That's a recurring trend that you can measure. But for news publications, I guess it's like in mainstream media, I think it's probably just easy to, since people don't know about it that much, and the news publications themselves could bring attention to it. Maybe they just don't because they don't know enough about it, and say BBC said, oh, it's a terrible place where you get molested or something. Like I don't know. I can't. I'm having a hard time wording it better than that, really. It's difficult because I don't know the intricacies of like news publications and mainstream media, so I don't exactly know.
I think the mainstream media, fucking Fox News, fucking MSNBC and CBS and CNN and all those other places and stuff, they don't acknowledge VRChat for what it is, in my opinion. They haven't accepted it as a normal part of reality at this stage. They haven't accepted it. So when they pretend to ignore it, it's because they're fucking, they're oblivious to how it's impacting more and more people nowadays. But they're old-fashioned. They just think that going outside and fucking meeting people the old-fashioned way is the only way to be socially acceptable. But like, there's an alternative now, and a really good one. But the mainstream media, they fail to acknowledge that.
I feel like it has a lot to do with what they were trying to do with like the Facebook metaverse, more or less. It could be dangerous for like some people to have access to it or know what it is. That could be a possibility, because you never know who you're talking to on here, right? And it could attract the wrong crowd. But also, like, I've noticed, like, there's no advertising or anything for VRChat, which is weird. So, also, I think it's also a way to avoid having little kids on here, because I do believe they should have, like, an age limit at some point, because it gets a little inappropriate sometimes in here. Yeah, that's why I think, why the mainstream thinks it's like non-existent. Like, you never see it anywhere.
Yeah.
You have to be like in the club, you know?